Hello and welcome to episode 70 of the RetroSlot podcast. This week we'll feature Night Trap, the
Best.
most gruesome game of the 1990s.
The hairdos were out of this world for sure.
Oh, they were scary, all right. This game, man, this game is, in my mind, one of the most famous games ever made. I don't know if it's like that for you because you might have been, you probably don't remember like the Senate hearings around this game and like the
No.
controversy, but there's literally, it was the biggest news in America for a brief period of time when Senator Joe Lieberman had his Senate, I don't know, what do you call that? Senate hearing. He
Mhm.
brought Nintendo, Sega. He showed scenes from Night Trap on the stage. He was also talking Mortal Kombat a lot. But man, I mean, literally the beginning of rating video games was due to Mortal Kombat and Night Trap in these Senate hearings. They basically said, either you find a way to keep these out of kids' hands or we will. He also said this game takes place in a sorority house and women get hung and raped. So I don't
But
think
none
he
of that
actually
is
checked the game out.
no. He didn't listen to the retro slot episode. I
He
mean,
should have listened to the RetroSlot episode.
yeah.
Would have cleared everything up.
Yeah. How have you
Nintendo
been?
famously said, this game will never appear on Nintendo hardware. Jay, what's that behind you?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
This Switch game right here?
Yeah, that
That
Nintendo
game?
game.
The one that says Night Trap with Nintendo Switch? That one?
To me, that
Yeah.
is kind of an amazing collectible.
I
So
don't
we'll talk more Night
typically
Trap soon. Jay, how you been?
Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to play much of this game because, and like I didn't, and Briar stepped up huge today, like last second. I was like, dude, I don't think I can get the notes done. And he's like, I got you. And so basically over the weekend, we went up to Seattle. I drove like 10 hours in less than 36. And my mom's going through some health stuff right now. And so we wanted to be there. So we took the family up to stay with my sister and stuff. And then came home like less than 36 hours later. And, so there was that, and then my daughter started a new school on Monday or, this yesterday, a new preschool. So we've been dealing with that and, life. Busy. How about you?
All the fun stuff. Yeah, we've been having a weekend around here too, but you know what? It's better now.
Yeah.
Gonna talk about some dumb stuff.
Like, really dumb.
Real dumb. We got some news as well. I think the news is actually pretty interesting. Got some cool stuff happening. Um, and Night Trap to me, it's almost the news around Night Trap. The Night Trap mystique is more important than the game itself.
Yeah, the game is dumb and weird. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, I hope everything's going better for you, Jay.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
No, it's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Uh, and we have 2 weeks till the next episode, so we've been kinda cramming it in here
Yeah, killing it.
lately.
More retro slot than you can even handle, honestly.
Yeah, there is the Retro Game Expo in Portland. You coming out to that, Briar?
Probably not.
Short notice, it's like, a week and a half away. It's basically Saturday, Sunday next week, so, it's one of the bigger retro game expos that I am gonna try to spend more time. Last year, I just went for a few hours with my son, and he was over it within about 20 minutes. He's like,
Yeah.
"I'm bored."
Yeah.
I'm like,
What's all this
"Okay,
old
well,
stuff?
shit." He liked playing pinball,
Okay.
and that was about it because they had, they have a free arcade setup and stuff, so he liked that, but he didn't really care for me to look around at, like, some of the retro game stuff on sale or anything like that. He's like,
Yeah.
No."
I remember being a kid.
He doesn't have an appreciation for retro games yet, and I don't know if he will. Like, we started in with Minecraft, and it's kind of a hard benchmark to beat.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, don't
Minecraft
play
is pretty amazing.
Don't play Minecraft. You need to come play this game that is punishingly difficult.
Yeah.
You're gonna hate yourself within 5 minutes of playing. It's the best.
Pretty good. I don't know.
Ay.
Minecraft is amazing, but it's nice to play like a bunch of stuff, even if it's old stuff. I don't know.
Hey, Theo, my 7-year-old. You want to play a game called Night Trap?
Yeah. I mean, honestly though, like, you think it's that inappropriate for a 7-year-old?
I didn't get to the good stuff, so
There
I don't
isn't any
know.
good stuff. It like it's so overblown. If this was on TV, it would be like a PG, not even PG-13. Like there's no
Really?
nudity. I don't think you actually see anybody get killed. Like
It's just
it
all well.
is
There's
really tame.
they pull the thing out of the freezer. What's this? Oh, that's homemade popsicles. Like a blood packet. That's about yeah. That's about as gory as it gets.
So we got a couple of topics, little icebreaker topics.
For for us who have never conversed before.
That's right. You know,
Yeah,
every day's a new
it's
adventure.
awkward. I'm uncomfortable. What's your favorite kind of cookie, Briar? And describe it as much as you can.
I like a good oatmeal raisin cookie. If all
Oh
cookies
man.
are on display in front of me, I like a good oatmeal raisin cookie. I like it nice and soft. I like it when there's so much sugar in it that you can like almost feel like your teeth like biting through the sugar granules. You know, I'm not picking oatmeal raisin because it's the healthiest choice. That's for
Out
damn
of
sure.
all the cookies
Yeah,
that are on the table in front of you,
yeah, oatmeal raisin.
you're going straight to the oatmeal raisin.
I love them. They're so good. I love the texture. I like
Wow.
raisins.
That is an opinion. Yeah.
You asked me my favorite.
That is true. Do you like slightly crispy edges, chewy middle, soft middle? How do you like it?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Actually, slightly crispy edge, chewy middle. I like it. I like it in soft. I don't like crunchy cookies. That's what I'm going for, like a cracker for. You know,
Yeah.
I like it to be soft, but not like what are those like what are those store bought that come in the red package? They're like
Chips Ahoy.
Chip Ahoy, but soft.
Yeah, those are still kind of weird.
Yeah,
They're better, but they're still kind of weird.
I don't like them. Anyhow, yeah, oatmeal raisin. What's your favorite?
Pretty much any other cookie.
Any other cookie besides oatmeal raisin?
Briar's getting the leftovers over here.
That's perfect.
I'll have a box.
We're gonna get along good,
cookies.
right?
Uh,
We go to a
can
party,
eat all
a
the
cookie
oatmeal
party,
raisin.
and we're not gonna interfere with each other at all. Like we're gonna be
We're not
like
gonna step on
eyeballing the last cookie, and we're gonna know whose it is right away.
I've had like it's just I think it's the raisins. It's not so much the oatmeal. Like I've had like cowboy cookies where it's like oatmeal chocolate chip with like butterscotch or whatever. Great. The
It's the raisins.
raisins, just fruit in my cookies.
Oh,
No.
I generally not like don't put fruit in my stuff kind of guy. Like I don't like
Yeah.
cream cheese with fruit in it. I don't like I don't know. I don't like salads with fruit in it. But I don't know. I like raisins, man. Like I like chocolate covered raisins. I like yogurt covered raisins. I like raisins. I like grapes, pre raisins.
I like grapes. I think the only form that I like raisins in is Raisin Bran
I love raisin bran.
because that's the only good part of that cereal.
Well, what
The
about
entire rest of
the
that
brand? You're so
nonsense,
regular.
dude. It just turns to slop within 5 seconds.
I like pooping every morning right away. Right away.
There's like it does not hold any structural integrity in that bowl. It's just like slop and raisins.
Maybe you just need a smaller bowl. So you finish it faster.
Less milk.
But if you have coffee and raisin bran in the morning, you are going to be as regular as a Japanese train.
Yeah. I didn't know that Japanese trains pooped.
Little known fact.
So,
All right, Jay, if you could have just one console for pre-2000, so it's 2000 or earlier. So what's this? Dreamcast is involved, but not the PlayStation 2.
there's nothing that could get me to answer anything other than SNES, I think
Super
here.
Nintendo. Mm.
Just, like, the way that it holds up, man. If I had to pick one game and the variety of gameplay and the quality of RPGs and the hours of entertainment you can get, like, I honestly don't know if there's a better console going back to now than SNES,
Mm.
SNES, whatever you wanna call it,
I was
SNES.
wondering if you were gonna say Game Boy. I knew it'd be Nintendo. I was thinking either Game Boy or Super Nintendo for you.
Well, one system, like the original Game Boy was not the best thing ever.
Yeah, but like you really get a lot of mileage out of just saying Game Boy because you can kind of like elbow Game Boy Color in there.
Mm,
You know,
hmm.
you might even
I don't I mean, if it's one console, you shouldn't be able to do that because Game Boy Color games were completely different.
look. I agree, but people don't play by the rules. You know.
I mean, if I I and I think GBA SP was, like, early 2000s, so that wouldn't even
Yeah.
qualify.
Oh, was
I mean, fuck, dude. Sorry, SNES got the Super Game Boy, man, like,
that's true.
if you're gonna be fudging rules.
That's true. You did just see your just find a way in.
Uh,
The Super Nintendo is hard to beat. It's got such an extensive library too.
oh,
You know, my heart wants to say Sega Genesis,
but you know that you're wrong.
but the PlayStation is in that list too. The original PlayStation is in that list too.
There's a lot of games for PS1. A
Yeah.
lot of crap, but a lot of good stuff too.
I might have to go with the NES though. I think the NES, the Super Nintendo definitely looks better, but man, I just really like some of those NES games are just like my favorite games of all time. You know what I mean? Like
I'm curious, name some NES games on your list that don't have superior upgrades on the SNES.
Castlevania, Ninja Gaiden.
Well, there's Ninja Gaiden Trilogy, which is on the SNES, which
Which
includes
is
it.
bad. Which is a bad port.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay. And
it's
then
very
there's
bad.
you don't like Super Castlevania 4?
I love Super Castlevania 4, but it's not as good as Castlevania.
All right.
I think it's an awesome game.
I think maybe one of a few games on my list in that regard, to your credit, would be Punch Out. Because Super Punch Out's good,
Yeah,
but I think the OG Mike Tyson's Punch Out is better.
yeah, I would agree. And nothing beats the original.
Which says a lot, man, because the technology in the Super Nintendo one. Have you seen there's an indie game coming out that looks almost identical to like Super Punch Out? It's got
I
the
think I have seen that.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. It's
Yeah,
kind of cartoony, but it's cool.
that's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Got a ton of
There you
news
go.
this week. Bunch of stuff happening here. This is a game that I keep wanting to add to our weekly playlist. Like, I want to, at some point, this one's got to be on our playlist. I think soon is going to be when it happens because Assault Suit Vulcan, known as Cybernator here in the US, is getting a physical reissue on the Super Nintendo. This is from, I always forget the name of this company. What's the name of this company?
Messiah?
No, it's like Retrobit.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
They do these where they like reissue the game like in like original cartridge form, but they like, do like some funky
Colors and stuff.
colors for the plastic cartridge, and they do like special editions. One of the ones that they did a long time ago was Street Fighter 2, and I wish I had gotten that because that was a really neat thing. But this is really cool. The cartridge is gold.
Gold!
Gold. It looks awesome. Sadly, though, you can buy this like the Super Famicom version or the SNES version, but it's called Vulcan for the SNES version too, which I wish they'd called it Cybernator.
I was gonna say it's a little curious as a North American release to call it the
Yeah,
Japanese release name.
yeah, and I wonder like maybe if this is just targeted at maybe Europe and Japan, where it might have been a little more popular. I don't know how popular this game was in North America.
Cybernator, I think it's a pretty well reviewed game, but I think it was one of those like, hidden gem type games.
Yeah, and it was like part of a whole series of games, but like they never got named the same thing in the US, so it's like nobody really knew it was a series. Just like there's a bunch of mech games that came out in like the 16-bit era, but none of them have like names that like sound like each other. Like Target
Mm.
Earth and Cybernator are both part of the same series.
Hmm.
But like, how would you ever know that other than the both are like kind of mech games of the 16-bit
Right.
era? But I think this is
It's
cool.
cool
I might pick this up. It's only $59.99, which I don't know. To me, is not a bad
for a
deal
physical release. Yeah, I
for
mean,
a physical release. That's a cartridge, and it comes with a bunch of like other kind of cool stuff. There's a deluxe edition too. That's a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of neat. It comes from Retrobit, which again they do a lot of cool stuff like this.
that is pretty cool. I think a Cybernator cart. Okay, it's quite a bit cheaper. 30 to $35 for a cart. Cybernator,
Yeah,
like the original. Yeah.
yeah. This one I found more curious. So it's kind of game preservation. People are working on iMode games. Now, the iMode was like a Japanese cell phone service where you could download games. It was very heavily copy protected. And like, those old mobile phones, basically, once smartphones got released, kind of died. But, people have nostalgia for those games.
Mhm.
And they found a way to preserve 9 of these games to get them off of that service, to get the DRM off of them, and to get them playable in an emulator on a PC, which I thought was cool. But man, like that is a whole genre. Genre is not the right word, right? It's like a whole platform
Platform.
of
Yeah.
games that have really just disappeared. And there's a lot of games out there for like, you know, feature phones, I would call them, right? Is like they had color screens, but they were definitely like flip phones with, number pads. But there's like Assassin's Creed games, there's like a Doom game, there's a ton of games out there for these old phones. But I mean, we ditched these phones for, whether it was like a Motorola Droid or a Samsung Galaxy or an iPhone, and we never looked back. And it's nice to know that people are like preserving some of these.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't have any love particularly for this stuff or like Engage, for example, which
Yeah.
is kind of like a hybrid, like handheld phone
Yeah.
situation. But some people love it.
Yeah.
It's like their childhood. I remember seeing Engage around. Was it like early 2000s?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Cool stuff.
I mean, they put a heavy marketing push on that thing. They really were
Yeah.
trying to make that a thing. I wonder how much that contributed to the demise of Nokia, because Nokia was like one of the biggest names in cell phones, and then just disappeared.
Hmm. You can get those games for pretty cheap too. A lot of
Yeah.
them.
Uh, this one was kind of fun. I don't know how to say
I
this
saw
word.
this. Yeah.
Zuiki. They officially unveiled a Dance Dance Revolution Classic Mini. Yeah, so it's a 1/5 scale Dance Dance cab. So like, you would,
You're fingering your cab.
yeah, yeah. It's only going to be available in Japan, but I'm sure you're going to be able to find a way to import it, like one way or another. If you're a really big Dance Dance Revolution or whatever fan, um, I don't know. It's kind of fun. I think it's going to work too. Like those pads are going to be like functional. If you're a big fan of Dance Dance Revolution, like this seems like something you're going to want to have around. They have it. They have a picture of it next to a record player, and it's about like the size of a record player, like the base of it. So it's pretty big.
Okay, yeah. And can you play it 2 players or one player?
Oh, I would
It's got
assume you could play
it's
a two
got
player.
yeah, it looks like it's got like 2 separate controllers kind of. Oh, yeah, you can separate them.
Oh,
There's
you
like
can
a
separate
cable,
them.
you can like detach them
Oh,
and separate them. That's cool.
are they
There's like a
wireless?
little
Like you put it
video,
on your lap,
and then you can
you get
export
your
it to your
GI Joes
TV.
on it, and be like,
You can export it to TV too. It's got HDMI out.
yeah,
That's dope.
this is cool.
That is pretty cool.
Have you ever played Dance Dance Revolution in an
I
arcade or anything?
have, I have rhythm. I'm a drummer. I'm not great at this game because this game's like up to a certain point I can sight read stuff, but when you have to like have everything memorized and you have to be fast as balls, it's
Yeah.
like, that goes beyond. Like I could sight read most stuff in like Rock Band too,
Hmm.
but there's a certain point where you pretty much have to memorize it like you would music, and that's a lot of people in DDR that were good at it basically did that. It's
Sure.
intense.
This game is super fun as long as you don't care if you look like an asshole. Because you're not going to look cool when you first
It's
are
a
learning.
yeah, it's a good workout.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have DDR machines in like, Dave& and Buster's and stuff
Yeah,
around.
there's one at the local arcade. Like it's like a retro arcade, but it's right down the street from me. Not right down the
Me
street. It's 20 minutes away.
It's right down the street compared to where I am.
But me and my personal trainer went there. We were playing it. We were having a ball.
Oh, it was his secret way to get you to do some cardio.
No, we were just going for beers. That was my secret way of going for beers
Man, I
with my
wish I
trainer.
was the kind I wish I was the kind of person who could just, like, ask people to do things,
Oh,
like trainers and stuff. Like, Briar is a breed that I wish I was.
I don't know. I think this kind of thing's kind of neat. I'm not going to be buying this one, but I think it's kind of neat. Like the mini arcades aren't really up my alley, but I like Dance Dance Revolution. I
It
think
is
this was
cool.
cool.
Is there a price for this at all, do you know?
I didn't see a price in that article. I got this from timeextension.com. And I did not see a price in that article.
Okay, I'm gonna look on the Japanese site
Let's
for a
see if you can
second. If I can figure it out. But yeah, go ahead.
convert some yen to dollars, dollar
Wow,
dues.
those controllers actually so there's a picture of a person holding the controller and it's like tablet size,
Yeah,
one controller.
yeah,
So
it's
they're
big.
like they have to move their hands around like, to
So they
actually
should
hit the
be
button.
doing like like the yellow pages, like
No,
do, do, do,
you'd
do,
have
do,
to
do.
do, yeah, 2 fingers like you're hunting and pecking on a keyboard.
Yeah.
It's like a sizable controller. It is
Yeah, it's
not.
like it's pictured next to a record player. It's as big as a record player.
And you can hook up dance pads to it if you have like dance pads. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're selling me on it now.
There's a lot more pictures on the Japanese site that I clicked on. It shows the dimensions. Yeah. 32.5 centimeters by 35.5 centimeters and 40 centimeters tall.
What's that in freedom units?
I don't know. Still trying to find it's gonna be I'm gonna guess somewhere in the 300 to 400 range.
Wow, really? You think so?
I would get like the way the size and the functionality. Yeah, I would think so. To minimum's 250. I'd say somewhere between 250 and 500.
I mean, at that price, you're looking at like an arcade one-up cabinet pricing.
Yeah.
You know,
Here, there's the link to the
to the price.
no, to the Japanese site and you can translate to English and then like see the pictures and stuff.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
This one I found kind of interesting because it brought up a question for me. Are you familiar with the Evercade?
Yeah.
For anybody listening, the Evercade is a console, a new console, and they make physical cartridges for it. But they put very few of the games are specific for that console. Like they'll have like a Capcom collection, or they'll have like a like a Toplan collection or a Psycho collection, or they'll have like collections of games in on a cartridge, and then you buy the cartridges. You can buy them at I think like Best Buy, Walmart, Target, that kind of place. And they're pretty affordable. Um, there is like a portable system as well as a system that you can hook up to a TV. But they just announced that the Atari carts are being discontinued, and there's several Atari carts for this thing. It's like 6 or 7. And it says in the article, again, I got this off of Time Extension, that it's a licensing deal. The licensing ended with Atari. Evercade was pretty nice about the whole thing. They're kind of like, this was a match made in heaven. We're really happy to have the Atari carts.
Mhm.
Decided to go another way. I mean, it's not hard to tell what other way they're going. Atari's got a bunch of kind of mini systems coming out in the near future, including that one that can take actual Atari cartridges. But it made me wonder, like, now are those Atari Evercade carts going to become collectible? Because old Atari carts are not collectible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Evercade is such a niche thing.
It really is.
I don't see them becoming like wildly valuable or anything.
Yeah, there are some games that have only ever appeared like for like a retail home release though on the Evercade. There's like a couple of
Mm.
arcade ports that have never gotten a home console release other than on the Evercade. I could see those kind of becoming somewhat collectible. I don't know how well the hardware is going to hold up over time. Like, I don't know a whole lot about that company, but I don't know. It's kind of neat that they're still out there selling cartridges, you know?
Yeah, and they've streamlined the whole collection of stuff. You can buy little packages and
Mhm.
cases and things like that. Like it's a fun little system that is well designed, I would say.
Yeah, and affordable too. It's like the console is like I think somewhere between 100 and 150 bucks. I think it's
Mhm.
essentially about the same for the handheld. And the cartridges I think are only like 20 or 29.99 or something somewhere in
Mhm.
there. So it's not like
It's
it,
not bad.
yeah, it's not super unaffordable. I don't know. I
So
think it's a cool little setup.
I didn't put any news stories in here, but I'm going to spin off of this into something if you don't mind.
Not at all.
So your mention of Atari stuff. So I'm betting, with the licensing. So the 2600 plus that Atari is releasing, they are also re-releasing games as carts. Like they're starting to sell, right, carts back again for the Atari that you can use with the 2600 plus.
Yeah, they did that
Right.
collection of like 10 games, right? And they were
Right.
$100 each.
That comes with the 20. Oh, that, yes, they did that, which sold out.
Right.
Right? So I think that told them, "Hey, there's a market for carts."
Yeah.
So, I was listening to the CU podcast which is Pat Country and, Ian, and they were going, like, deep dive on this subject. Um, so yeah, like, they're gonna start re-releasing all these carts, probably thinking that there's a market for it, and there probably is to a certain extent. And so any licenses for stuff like this, I imagine, is gonna get cut out for a while at least. And they also deep dove more into the Atari 2600 plus. So you know how I said I'm not a fan of them doing just plain emulation
Yeah.
for it? They were comparing they were talking about the Hyperkin Retron 20 or whatever, 19 or 1777 or something like that. And that could play Atari carts. The thing is they used an emulator on that system that was only maybe 75 to 85% compatible with games.
Hyperkin did.
Hyperkin did.
Okay.
They are using the same emulator on the 2600 plus.
Hmm.
And there's not really any realistic way, I don't think, for the 2600 plus to like upgrade firmware if there's better you know, support and things like that for games.
Hmm.
And I did mention a couple of weeks ago, I think that on the Atari website there's a PDF, a compatibility list, right? And so there's some interesting things to note. A lot of games on that list say untested, but because there's a specific type of Atari cart that uses specific technology that the emulator cannot do, like completely,
Mm-hmm.
none of those games are going to be supported.
Hmm.
And the majority of those games on this list said untested. So there's going to
Oh,
be a large chunk of
that's a little
games.
shady.
Yeah, like this, like, yeah, it was kind of
So
really.
the emulator hasn't been updated since Hyperkin released that thing in any way?
Well, if it I mean, there's just a specific subset of, like, Atari games with certain technology, like, later release games that it can't do,
Yeah.
because there
Hmm.
was specific technology in the cart or something like that that let them do it.
Hmm.
And also the 10 game cart that they're releasing with the 2600 plus is a physical switch. So you have to physically switch between the 10 games because it's basically like,
That
you know what
makes
I'm
it
saying?
cooler.
I mean, from business perspective, it was much cheaper to do that than to develop some kind of UI. But they wouldn't be able to do any kind of UI because they're using an old emulator that's not supportive of, you know what I mean?
This
So,
so that they're not developing this emulator anymore?
I, not that I know of, but there's not going to be any way to upgrade it on the 2600 plus. I don't think
Hmm.
there's no like USB ports or anything.
No, there's no memory card or
And
anything?
they also touched on the fact that it only comes with one controller and you have to spend whatever $40 on another controller. And it doesn't come with the controllers that have 2 buttons for the 7800 games, even though it's compatible with 7800 games.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Not a fan of
It
that thing, huh?
no. Well, I mean, like, that's gonna be a huge issue. Like, imagine buying this system to play carts and it doesn't play a large chunk of carts.
I don't think any serious collector's buying this thing anyway, right?
It's
I think
very
this
true.
is very much like getting like the mini Super Nintendo or mini NES. Like it's very much going to be targeted as a casual thing and like, hey, you know, if you get sick of these 10 games, but it kind of excited your passion, go check out some more games, like maybe it's like a entry level kind of like step into the retro game world. But I very much don't think that it's going to be like no serious collector is going to be like looking at that. Well, they'll still buy it because it says Atari on it and it's got veneer and like they
No,
just
yeah, it looks
they're
cool. Like
collectors,
it's
right? But
the physical design is cool.
yeah, it's very cool. But yeah, I never see these things as like targeted at like the serious like people who like spend hours and hours trying to beat adventure. Like
Sure.
it's just not what they're after.
Right. They did cover that on the podcast as well, but the Ian person had worked at a game store for like 20 years, and he said most people that bought that Retron, like a lot of them returned it because it wouldn't play the games that they would want to play. And so they're like,
Yeah,
this is a deal breaker because it's not. So uh my guess is Atari is going to be releasing carts that are supported, but that's going to be
makes
like their
sense.
thing.
That
So
does make sense.
who knows how successful that will be. But
Yeah, I don't know. I
it's a
I'm
cool
interested in
idea,
that
but
thing to
yeah.
play like a little bit of Atari, but I'm never gonna play a lot of Atari. The games to me are just kind of like they're just a step too simple,
Yeah,
you know,
agree.
and repetitive. Although I wouldn't mind getting a hold of Empire Strikes Back for the Atari 2600 and checking that game out because it's been a long time since I played it, and I do remember really enjoying it. I should probably just play it on my Mister. This was kind of neat. There's a super rare N64 controller that could fetch up to 1,000 pounds at auction. Uh, and it's leopard print.
Do you
It's
have a
a
link for this?
leopard print controller.
I'm gonna
Apparently, oh,
search
I'm
it.
sorry, I didn't put a link to this one for you.
Oh, I see it.
Apparently, like some dude just kind of had this in his attic. Just been sitting there for years. He pulled it out and he's putting it up for auction. Apparently, the thing was like ultra rare. Kind of neat. I can't believe they made a official retro or not retro official leopard print N64 controller. It looks bizarre.
Less than 200 of them available in the world.
Yeah. I don't know. Kind of neat.
There was there was 4 designs issued by Fox Data in the late 1990s that included controllers called Desert Storm, Red Rain, Purple Forest, and Chrome Leopard. Oh, there's a picture of all 4 of them here.
Yeah.
Here, so you can see it.
I don't know. Any interest in getting yourself a leopard print?
Not for $1,000+ no.
No. Seems like a
If it
bargain
was
to
like
me.
if it was $20 at a flea market, 100%.
100%. I mean, the
I'm
guaranteed the analog stick doesn't work.
I was gonna say, like, how wobbly is that analog stick?
Wilson used to say it's like throwing a banana down a hallway.
Sheesh.
Uh, New game scare games care just released an 8
Game
by
scare.
2 Scart switch. So these things are actually getting pretty rare. So there's new companies that are making these things. This one was really well reviewed over at Retro RGB. So if you're looking for a Scart switch, I don't know, Jay, do you have any interest in Scart? Are you a Scart man?
Shibbity bop bop biddy bop bow. Uh, I if I had a house with, like, a specific game room and stuff, like,
Yeah,
that I would need a Switch for and stuff, maybe, but I don't, so
yeah.
probably not. Not right now. I
Uh,
mean, like, how much do these things run?
this thing, I think it's on sale for about $200.
Okay.
It's a high quality item.
So how
Uh,
would you compare this to, like a retro tink?
okay, so this isn't a video converter like the RetroTink is. This is just a switch. So you plug in a bunch of devices, and then it automatically switches the video signal to go to a retro tank.
Oh, so it doesn't have any digital out.
No, this is just analog. So you'd plug in like your Super Nintendo, your Genesis, your Sega Saturn, all your old consoles into this. That way you didn't have to like plug each one into the retro tank.
Okay.
It's like
Got
an
it.
HDMI switch. It
Sure.
doesn't do anything to the signal. It just directs it.
So yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm trying to think of how I currently have it set up. I have to physically switch anything that I want to plug into the TV currently.
Yeah, yeah. This eases up on that. And Scart is a really high quality signal. I think a lot of people are switching over to component cables, which are like the red, green, and blue
Green, blue,
cables.
yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Scart, there's just something really cool about Scart because we didn't have it when it was like the current connector, right?
Mhm.
It was a European standard. We just had, the composite. Eventually we got S video. And then we skipped, I think, right to component and then to HDMI. But we never
Mhm.
had SCART. I don't know. It's kind of a fun
It's
little
cool.
thing. If you're looking to convert your old systems into like a higher fidelity signal, but still keep it analog, which is useful because for instance, you could upgrade your Super Nintendo to put an HDMI output into it. But that's just going to be locked into whatever hardware was available when you
Mhm.
did that mod. But if you just give it RGB out, then you can plug it into a RetroTink 5X and get the best that the Retro 5X can deliver right now. But when the RetroTink 4K comes out, you just plug that same console into the 4K and you're getting all the benefits of 4K output. So
Right, and you don't have to mutilate your system.
you still got to do a mod.
Do you?
Yeah, probably. It depends on the system, but like NES, Genesis, no. Saturn, no. Super Nintendo, I think it depends on which one you have. NES, definitely.
Mm,
What else? I'm looking at all my systems. N64, yes, you have to mod. Dreamcast, you got to buy an external thing. Yeah, it depends on the system, but some you have to mod, some you don't.
gotcha.
What else we got here? Castlevania Nocturne. You check this out on Netflix. Castlevania Nocturne just
I
got
heard about it. Yeah, I heard
released.
about it.
I watched the whole series over the weekend. I just basically
Binged
mainlined
it.
it. It rained on Saturday, so I watched the whole thing.
It rained one day, so I watched 12 hours of TV.
Yeah, yeah,
Was it good? I
yeah. It was
mean,
good. It's a different it's a different period and a different time than like time setting than the previous. Was it 4 or 5 seasons of Castlevania that's already been out?
I don't know, it's been around for a while.
Yeah, it's been out for a while. So this is Nocturne is based on the characters from like Rondo of Blood, Dracula X, and maybe into Symphony of the Night. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Which are a lot of people's like favorite Castlevania games, which is pretty interesting. So far in the first season, there was quite a bit of character development. There's some really good battles. There's some really good music. I liked it quite a bit. But I'm a little Castlevania prone. I tend to fanboy
Sure.
out for Castlevania stuff. I don't watch any other anime basically.
I'm trying to get into some, like, I finished My Hero Academia recently, and I'm trying to branch out, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty picky when it comes to stuff.
Yeah. I I really like all of the Castlevania stuff I've seen. Like some of the seasons are, some are better than others, but this one was pretty good. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Nice. Sweet, that's cool.
Raspberry Pi 5 is launching next month. So this is
Woo!
twice as fast as the previous Raspberry Pi, the Pi 4. It's going to cost a pretty penny. I think it's like $60 to $90, depending on how much RAM you get inside of it, which is stretching the budget, I think, for a Pi.
So is this like the Raspberry Pi a la mode? Is that what this one's like?
I don't know what a la mode is. I'm not familiar with that.
What? With ice cream?
Oh, you're just talking about actual pie a la mode. I gotcha.
I was just making a stupid joke.
My bad. I I thought you were talking about, like, some kind of, like,
I was
some
too
version
dry
of
in my
the
delivery,
Raspberry Pi.
apparently. Yeah.
I'm just so not used to having jokes come my way from you. New experience caught me off guard.
Wow. 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 Well, this is the beginning of the end.
I don't know. This thing's kind of neat. A lot of people use these obviously to make like kind of retro emulation kind of devices, plug it into an arcade or plug it into a TV and just basically load it up with like every video game ever made. And now that it's twice as fast as the Pi 4, probably going to run even more systems. I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to this. People use this for all sorts of stuff too. They use it to
Yeah.
like, like, well, here's a remote opening and closing device for my garage door. Here's here's a video camera. Here, they make all sorts of stuff with these things.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Last story of the day, Retro 6 Super Gamepad has been released. This is an SNES pad replacement. It's wired only. Thing about this one is it seems to be a really good one. So there's a lot of different Super Nintendo pads you can buy, like to use on an actual Super Nintendo. But a lot of them don't feel right. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like it
Yeah. A
just
little too
doesn't.
squishy.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, it just doesn't get it quite right. This one apparently is pretty darn close. It does have some kind of weird features, like the buttons light up the colors of the Super Famicom buttons. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of neat. The cable is like a USB and then plugs into an adapter, but apparently it doesn't work with like PC or anything, so it only works with a SNES or a Famicom.
That is weird.
Yeah. But apparently it's pretty good. Getting pretty good reviews. I've seen a couple of places give it good reviews.
Nice. Yeah, it looks cool. It's like a smoke colored shell, and then it's got the. At first, when I saw a picture of this, I was like, "Oh, cute, a Christmas ornament." It's like all lit up, Christmas colors. It's got red and green and orange and blue. I don't know. I do prefer the Famicom color scheme to the US one that we got, to be
100%.
honest.
Absolutely.
I do, I have nostalgia for the purple and gray, but it's, having all those colors is pretty dope.
Yeah. Unpopular opinion though, I like the Super Nintendo like actual like plastic better than the Super Famicom plastic. And I think that's a pretty unpopular opinion. I think most people like the console itself, the Super Famicom console better than the.
Right. I think mostly the controller, I like the Famicom one better than the.
Yeah, same. I just like the colored buttons. It's the only difference I know of, right?
Well, and I think it's like round instead of, or how does the US controller look?
I think the shape is the same.
Yeah, the shape is the same. It does have the circle, and it's got the yeah, it's basically just the colors, isn't it?
I think so.
There you go. It looks so much different though with the different colors. It's weird.
It looks like candy. I don't know what they were thinking with the purple.
Like US boring. Give them boring colors. Lavender and purple.
I mean,
Done.
I'll give them credit though; they nailed it with the NES. Like the difference between the NES and the Famicom
Oh,
is
100%.
so much better. It's so much better.
The Famicom just looks like a toy.
Just
I
being
mean,
able to remove the controller cables instead of being like permanently tied to your
yeah,
console with
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
controller cables is like a huge addition.
I mean, to be fair to their credit, they were trying to market it as a toy, and the Famicom looks like a toy. It doesn't look like an entertainment center
No,
system, whatever.
no.
Yeah,
Night Trap.
Night Trap.
Jay, I get the
I
feeling that you don't like this game too much.
Look, I was telling Briar before the show that I couldn't really figure out how the hell to play it. Like I was looking at the instruction manual and I understood the concept. You're supposed to like flick between the cameras and there's stuff that happens and you're trying to trap the evildoers or whatever, but I couldn't figure out the functions of it, and I understood that you're supposed to have it a certain color for the traps or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just it was I don't know. I didn't know if it was a time-based thing or if you just had it set the whole time or you had to set it when you saw something or I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah. So real quick, like the setup for this game is it's kind of like it's like a I don't know, like a budget horror movie, right? It's like a B horror movie, and it plays out like this group of you know co-eds that come to this house, and the house is actually like run by vampires, like owned by vampires, and they've got these like augurs, which are well, they were supposed to be ninjas, but they changed it last minute to make them like vampires, and they have
They're
these like
really slow trotting.
yeah, but that kind of they have to be to like play the mechanic.
That's true.
They're chasing the co-eds around the house, and your job is you are in control of the security system. So you have 8 cameras. You can see into 8 different rooms of this house, and you can switch between any of the 8 cameras at any time. And if one of the augurs, one of the bad guys, gets close to one of the traps, you can press a button to set off the trap. Um, a little added gameplay to that is every once in a while in any of the rooms though there are this movie is playing out and it's playing out in real time, so if you watch like the driveway when the kids pull up to the house, you can watch like the whole conversation and like the kids coming to the house and like the daughter of the vampires comes and greets them, or you can go inside the house and like see that some of the augurs are running around the house and you can
I was
trap
like, you're
them.
missing out on action if you're watching the story, which is kind of tough.
Absolutely. And you only there's only going to ever be 100 augurs in this house, and you've got to catch 70 of them to complete the game.
Mm.
And at any point, if you kind of get too far behind, the game will end. Or if you let key characters die, the game will end. There's
I
only
love it
one
how
checkpoint in the whole game, and it's like halfway through the game.
I love how when you fail, they're like, "We're disconnecting you," and they have a Genesis controller, and they're like, "Click,
Yeah.
sure."
um, I, you are right though. Like the hardest thing I think when you first start playing is like you want to see the story, you want to see these people talking,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you can't really. You have to be like so. There's a big difference when you play the old version and the new version. The new for 2017 version, it came out on the Switch, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4. I don't know, did it ever come out on the Xbox? Probably did. Is each one of the video cameras is displayed. Oh, I should put actual some gameplay up so you can actually see this happening.
See the new one. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
But you can see in the bottom left-hand corner live video of all of the rooms. Where in the old version for the Sega Genesis, the 3DO, the 32X, it would just give you an icon of each of the rooms.
Mhm.
So it's so much easier to play the new version because you can be just like watching a conversation happen and then kind of notice that you see some of these guys walking around one of the other rooms, go to that other room, switch to that other room, trap them, and then go back to whatever you were doing, right? So it's like so much easier. In the old version, you'd kind of get an alert that there was like motion, but you didn't know which room they were in. So you had to just like
Mhm.
cycle as fast as you could through the rooms. And it really became more of a memorization game than anything. And it was kind of frustrating. I found this game frustrating when I was young and like when I first played
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But the new version, being able to just see all this stuff happen, like in the little like video preview, it's so much easier.
That does make sense. Yeah.
The whole game is only like 25 minutes long. But it's probably gonna take you a while to beat it just because you gotta kind of like learn the controls. And like Jay was saying, every once in a while, they're gonna change the code for the security system. So you have to recalibrate your system. And if you don't do that, you can no longer set off traps, and you'll be like wondering why aren't the traps not working? Why aren't the traps not working? It's because you got to recalibrate. You got to find the new code, uh, and you have to be listening for that. You have to know where to listen for it, or you have to just realize that oh, my traps aren't working. Let me try try the next code until they start working.
Generally, I feel like when the when the two like owners of the house are talking, that there's probably some key information going on there.
Yeah, I think it depends on the time. There's the different people change the codes at different times.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, again, you'll memorize this and like kind of know it. And then once you do that, Um, this game is, I think it's kind of campy and kind of fun. It was all the footage for this was filmed in the 80s. It was actually this game was actually made for this like unreleased VHS based console that was supposed to be made by like Hasbro. Um, at one point, it was like going to be a whole console that took VHS tapes and like played video games. And then at some point, they were like, well, we could just make this like an add on for the VCR that you already have. And then they just like scrapped the whole thing because they're like, it is so expensive to make these things because you basically have to like set up a whole studio to film these,
Mhm.
quote unquote games. And they're like, Hasbro probably wisely scrapped the whole project. So the people who actually developed the game, they bought the rights to the game. And then when Sega released the Sega CD, they saw an opportunity to put it on the Sega CD. And Sega actually, wanted to show off the power of their new system. And it became, I think, the top selling game on the Sega CD.
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, not necessarily because of the quality of the game, though.
True, sure. It does say there's over an hour and a half of full motion video. That's just like what they have recorded that they're cycling through and stuff.
Right. Yeah. But, like obviously there's video, some video is playing at the same time as other video. So like it's not like a straight through hour and a half long. Like the whole
Mhm.
game will last you about like I think 30 minutes or 25 minutes or something like that. Once you like know how to beat it and where you know how to set
Sure.
up all the traps. It's pretty easy. Especially the newer version. The newer version also looks really nice because all the footage was filmed on actual film. I think it was 15 millimeter film. So they were able to remaster all the film for the newer releases, and it looks pretty decent. It was filmed in the 80s though.
Yeah, I went back and like because I was trying to charge my Switch so I could play the Switch version. And while that was happening, I found the Sega CD and the 3DO versions,
Yeah.
like, you know, somewhere. And I played them for a few minutes. And the Sega CD version, I don't know if it was just the ROM, but the video was rough.
Well, it was a
Like
Sega
it was
CD.
really it looked like an animated GIF playing almost as video.
I think it ran at 160p.
Yeah, it was
And then it
really
also had the limitation of like the Sega's like limited color palette.
yeah.
So it didn't look great. At the time, it didn't even look that great. Right? Like at the time you're like, well, it's kind of neat that it's playing video, but it
Yeah.
doesn't look that great.
Like watching video on the original, iPods and stuff like that, like, it could only do so many frames per second. So, the
Yeah.
3DO version was a step up, I
Well, it was a
noticed.
step up in clarity, but the frame rate was actually lower on the 3DO version,
Mm,
which
mm.
is kind of a bummer too. I mean, look, the technology of the day, this is what was available. I think this game is pretty novel. I think it's pretty fun. The tone of the game, I think I appreciate more now than I did at the time because being in the early 90s and seeing this like footage that was shot in the late 80s just kind of felt old at the time, but now
Mhm.
it feels nostalgic. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
I do wanna, like, properly learn how to play. I feel like you need to, like, watch a guide a little bit to know exactly how to press things when and
I don't
stuff to
think you
really
do.
figure it out.
I think if
No?
you just put a little time in with that Switch version, you get a hang of it real quick.
Sure, sure. Okay.
Especially
Well, I do
especially being able to see all the other rooms like a live
yeah.
video feed, it's so much easier.
Yeah. Now that I have the Switch I only got it yesterday, the Switch version,
Yeah.
so, uh, and it was kind of an impulse buy, so I do wanna try it more for sure and
Yeah.
beat it because it's not that long.
I think it's kind of fun. It's not look, people put it on like their worst games of all time list, and I don't think that's a deserved thing. Like, full motion video games are not remembered well. This game, it's really brightly lit. Like all the scenes are really brightly lit, which definitely does not add to like the horror vibe.
Sure.
But like, because they were putting these things out in like low res, they had to light
Yeah.
the sets brightly.
Like
So
Full House with murder.
yeah. So I think this game gets a little more hate than it deserves, but it got a lot of hate when it came out from the US government, right? And from Nintendo. So the game came out in 1992. And then in 1993, okay, I'm just going to read this. I just copied this from Wikipedia. Here's the quote. The game was one of the principal subjects of a 1993 United States Senate committee hearing on violent video games along with Mortal Kombat. That was the first Mortal Kombat. Night Trap was cited during the hearing as promoting gratuitous violence and sexual aggression against women, prompting toy retailers Toys R Us and KB toy stores to pull the game from shelves that December and Sega to cease producing copies in January 1994. The Senate hearing led to the creation of the Entertainment Software Rating Board, ESRB, the North American video game rating board still used today. During the hearings, Nintendo of America Senior Vice President Howard Lincoln testified that Night Trap would never appear on a Nintendo system because it did not pass its guidelines. Fulop believed Lincoln was referring to technical guidelines. Night Trap could not run on a Nintendo system due to the lack of the CD-ROM drive, but Lincoln made it sound as if the game was unworthy of Nintendo's moral standards. Critics noted that this is a deliberate move from Nintendo to distance itself from the scandal and make Sega look unfavorable. Now, what's interesting that I only learned today for the first time is that there was, in fact, a working relationship between the devs of Night Trap and Nintendo to get this game on the Nintendo PlayStation when Nintendo and Sony were working together to create that system. However, the Nintendo PlayStation got canceled and that deal fell through. And then the developers of Night Trap actually have a lot of hard feelings against Nintendo because they feel like they got thrown under the bus, which they did. Mm-hmm. And some of the things that Howard Lincoln said in that press conference were pretty abominable. He did not go in there like, let's defend the video game industry from, government intervention. He went in there like, fuck Sega. We've got to show why they should be looking at Sega and leave us alone. Even though they had Mortal Kombat on their system. It's not like they were just like, like, I don't know. I also have a lot of respect for Nintendo in at this time because they just completely, they did not like defend video gamers or, the video game, video games as a whole. They just went hard on fuck Sega, fuck Night Trap. We're the good guys here. We're on your side, Joe Lieberman. And man, they acted like real punks.
They perpetuated their image for sure. Because they were even subconsciously, I feel like people had that image disparity between Nintendo and Sega of like, oh yeah, Nintendo's the family console and Sega's the cool console, right?
For sure. So, but I don't know. To act like that, I feel like it's a real bitch move.
You're saying you're a bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is included on Wikipedia's list of the worst games of all time. I think unfairly, honestly. I don't think this game is as bad as people say it is. Yeah, it's an FMV game. There are worse, I think, FMV games out there.
And next week we're doing one of them. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I mean, definitely, if you're interested in this game at all, it is very 80s horror B-movie camp. And it's pretty fun. At least check out. All right, two things to check out if you're interested in this at all. My Life in Gaming did an excellent documentary about this game. I think it's only about 20 minutes long. They talk about the original development of the game as well as the effort to bring it to modern consoles. And then also, you can just watch this like a movie on YouTube now. People have kind of like stitched it all together so it plays out like a movie. And that's kind of fun too, because it's totally like 80s camp. And it's just fun to see it. Or you can buy it on Steam. You can buy it digitally. Or you can buy it. I think we both have physical copies. I watched it in 4K. Oh, the video stopped running.
it's funny to me how they wrote this story and kind of filmed it, and the characters that are vampires, right? Like immediately you can sense that there's something off about them. Like it's
Is
not
it the white makeup and the fangs? And
just
they're
the way
walking
they're
around with wine glasses filled with very thick
uh,
red blood.
it's just yeah, you know immediately that they're screwing around. So I don't know. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I think it's a fun game. It's not, it's not like the best gameplay game, but it's mild entertainment. It's good. The new version, way better though. Way better.
Yeah, yeah,
Jay,
100%.
did you pick a game for next week?
I have two choices. So
Okay.
we've started to dip our toes a little bit into the rare expensive game realm.
Okay.
I had kind of stayed away from it because I didn't know about accessibility for folks.
Sure.
Uh, if how hard it would be for them to like get stuff to play and things like
Not
that.
everybody's
But
got
since we,
every game ever made at their fingertips.
I don't know if that's a shot at me or yourself.
I
Uh,
I don't know either.
um, so I was just like, all right, I got to pick games. So I went and looked at the shelf. I was like, okay, well, I've never played these games, and they're very rare and expensive. And so you get to choose between the two. But he made Briar to. I'm going to preface this because I know what game he's going to choose at this point. He
Oh,
said it's October.
it is
Let's
October.
pick. Let's pick something that's kind of
Yeah, a little
themed like
spooky,
that, right?
a little horror.
So one of them is, and one of them isn't. One of them's called Cowboy Kid, and the other one's called Zombie Nation for the and they're both for the NES. They're both very
Oh
like
man,
rare, hard to get, expensive. I won't go into the price because it's kind of embarrassing.
I
I've not
should
played
pick.
either.
I should pick Zombie Nation because it's October. But look at that cover for Cowboy Kid.
None of them or neither of them are particularly reviewed very well. Cowboy Kid was I don't
Look at
know if
that
it's developed or
mustache.
published. Romstar did that one.
Look at those pectorals.
And then Zombie Nation was done by Meldak?
Meldak.
Good old Meldak.
Boy, that is not a good cover.
Hey, look, that's like Homer Simpson drunk on a Saturday night,
That's like deviant art of Homer Simpson.
I don't know, you get to pick.
I think we gotta go. It's October. We gotta go with the horror game Zombie Nation, right? Gotta
All
do
right,
it.
all right.
Gotta do it.
I've heard mixed reviews on this. Like some people are like, yeah, it's a fun little like shooter type
Zombie
game. I
Nation.
don't know if it's like Zombie Ate My Neighbors. But I think it is kind of a shooter game. Hey, we're both looking up gameplay right now.
No, I'm writing it on the list
Okay.
because we got actually 2 weeks to do this one, so we got a little time to.
You have
I
a
was
little time.
glad we did. I know you still didn't get much time to play Night Trap, but I was glad it was like a pretty short experience because I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
have
yeah.
much time to play this week either. But I was able to, Night Trap is pretty lightweight game.
You're gonna love Zombie Nation.
Oh, well, cool.
It's a shmup.
Yes.
And you're a giant zombie head flying around in the sky.
Okay, I gotta look this up.
I don't think there's any like real way to play this any other way other than like ROMs. Oh, there is a Switch game. I think that this is on actually, but it's like a hold on.
Oh, I've seen this game. What's this game called in Japan? It's not called Zombie Nation in Japan.
Aberembo Tengu.
Yes.
You can get this digitally on Switch for $12.
Samurai Zombie Nation. Okay. Yes, I've seen this game before. I've heard this is a pretty fun game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're a giant disembodied samurai head and you spit bullets in a side-scrolling shooter. What's not to love?
Yeah.
How much? All right, you got to tell me how much is this game? How much if I end up loving this, am I going to have to buy it?
Well, this is what they had it listed for at the retro store when I bought it. If it'll
Oh, the suspense is killing me.
Dude, it's like not.
Oh boy, yeah. Okay, I'll be playing the emulated version.
Yeah,
I'm gonna play this on the.
Well, you can get it for $12 on the Switch too.
Okay, I might do that.
It's currently. Oh, it went up to. It peaked about 2 years ago on the NES for almost 600,
Probably everything did, right?
and it's currently down in the 4 to 450 range.
All right,
Yeah.
I like this pick. That's a cool game. Cool pick. What's more spooky
Roar.
than a disembodied samurai head spitting bullets? Nothing.
The cover doesn't really fit the,
No, it doesn't.
because
They're like,
on the
how
cover,
do we sell this in America?
you can see the samurai guy in the back, kinda,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
back by the New York Statue of Liberty over there.
Oh yeah, look at that.
It's very weird.
Boy,
Alright.
what a
Yes.
turnaround.
Yeah. So, did you get any pickups?
No, no pickups this week.
I got a few. So, I had picked up Night Trap and one other game from the retro store yesterday. The retro store is less than 5 minutes away from my daughter's new school.
Ooh,
It's like 3 minutes away,
that
so
sucks.
that's awful.
Yeah, that's gonna be rough.
I didn't choose the new school, my wife did. Okay,
Yeah.
so it was her switching schools was all my wife. So I'm like, oh, it's fine. The retro store. I'm not gonna push
Yeah, I'll
back.
drive her to work. I'll drive her to school.
And the other game I got was kind of a sort of expensive game that I didn't have in my collection. RC Pro Am 2.
Cool.
It's kind of a rare one. You can play it 4 players on the NES.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I've only played the first one, but I liked it a lot.
I did. Yeah, I like the RC Pro Am games,
Yeah.
and I want to do Micro Machines at some point.
Yeah, that was a fun one too.
Yeah. And then the last one I got, Strider Returns.
Ah, yes.
Strider 2. And there's a fun thing that I learned about this game. So I don't know
Is
if you
it not
can
really Strider 2?
Journey from Darkness. Like it's Strider Returns. So look at the label and tell me if you notice anything.
Not really. Is there two labels? It's
Yeah.
like one stuck on top of the other?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think is under it? Based on the
it looks like the grid pattern, like the Genesis grid pattern.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know any further than that.
It's a Mega Drive cart. Or Mega Drive? Mega Drive. It's a Mega Drive cart, and then they put the new label on top. And this is not it's not like rare or hard to find with 2 labels.
Yeah.
I went on eBay and looked at this game, and there's literally one with the corner of the label ripped off, and you could see Mega Drive.
But the Mega Drive, didn't the Mega Drive have like the rounded top, or is that just the Japanese
Apparently,
Mega Drive?
some of them were like this.
Oh, interesting.
So
Because they're not compatible. Mega Drive cartridges are not compatible with Genesis.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a different looking cartridge. It's got like ribs on the side and it's like rounded on the top.
Mhm.
But maybe they changed that over time and just said like, fuck it, why are we making 2 different kinds of cartridges?
Yeah, I don't know.
Let's just make one
But
that's compatible with everything.
it was
Because
interesting.
it's just like the Super Nintendo where it was just like the plastic was slightly different so you couldn't fit it in. But if you broke off the tabs, then you could fit it in and it just worked fine.
Right. This was released in 92. So it's just I saw it immediately when I looked at the card. I was like, why are there 2 labels? Like,
Yeah, that's
so I
weird.
had to I don't know. Kind of cool.
Yeah, that game stinks apparently. I've never played it, but
It's not expensive. It was like $40 for the
yeah, not well loved. Not well loved. People are like actually angry about that game. You know, gamers.
gamers.
You know how gamers be.
No, they're completely reasonable human beings. What do you mean?
Yeah. Is that it? We got
That's it.
all right. So Zombie Nation next week. That's gonna be fun. I can't wait to play that.
You like Ed?
I hope you pop in Night Trap again. I hope you just like give it a whirl on the Switch.
I will. I will.
It is kind of fun. It's look, it's not the greatest game ever made, but it's kind of fun.
It's not Zombie Nation. Yeah.
Yeah, it's no Zombie Nation. It's no Cowboy Kid. But it's not the worst game ever made either.
Yeah, for sure.
I just saw that limited run has physical copies of what's that game called? Save the Plumber. Hold on, let me just go quickly to limited.
Oh, Plumbers with Ties.
Plumbers with Ties, which
Yeah.
was basically like Skinamax level porn for the 3DO. Not a video game at all. Like, that game deserves to be on the worst games of all time.
I haven't played it, but I know that it's kind of one of those infamous games again, like
Yeah.
Night Trap.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for hanging out with us. We'll be back in 2 weeks with much samurai skull spewing bullet knowledge under our belts.
Yes.
I'm gonna beat this game. What do you think? I'm calling it.
Prove it.
Game Genie codes for. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.